Yeah.
How you doing? That's a pretty good translation of the prayers, right? Shikshastika prayers that I sent you. That's from the Chaitanya Mat. In
Oh, I love them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that
We used
one.
to,
The first one is pretty awesome. I'm not downgrading Prabhupada's ability to translate, but I just like that analogy of the lotus flower and the moonlight. I think that's more of a uh, um, representative of Lord Chaitanya's original uh, statement.
yeah,
So I, what's that?
we used to repeat those every morning after Mongol RT.
The Shikshastika prayers?
Yeah,
Where? Where
I
did you
like
used
that.
to do that?
I was at New Vrindavan, wasn't it?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I wasn't
Yeah, in the
there
morning.
half the time. I
Oh,
was
okay.
on the road.
Yeah, it was that important.
Yeah. Well, you're supposed to wear the third verse around your neck.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was for a while. I had two medallions that had the Trinata P verse on it.
Yeah.
And they were bronze medallions. And the chain broke on both of them, and they're gone. And they can't find those things now. I should have made a copy of it, like a mold or something. But anyway, you know, as long as I wear it around my neck, at least um, figuratively, you know, Krishnadas Kaviraj said that that verse is the most important verse in, humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. That's the most important verse. Otherwise, you can't chant Hare Krishna. That's
Right. Right.
so. I'm gonna go ahead and read a verse from the Bhagavatam because I think that's kind of like um, relevant to this particular topic. You guys see that?
There it is.
Yeah. Are you on a computer or are you on your cell phone, Dave?
I'm on my computer because of my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I can see it. I just can't. I can't see the English version. That's all.
You uh, you mean the translation?
There we go.
Okay. This is a pretty
There
important
you
verse.
go.
It's like it's glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's kind of a revolutionary verse. I mean, all of the acharyas, all the Goswamis, they based all their writings on the Bhagavatam. So this is the um, quintessential scripture. It's the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge. So maybe we can take turns. I'll read uh, the translation, and Devananda, you can read the first paragraph, and Yoga Dave, you can read the rest of it.
Okay.
On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Go ahead, Devananda.
Purport. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst, It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchable. Is there any way of making it a little bit bigger? I can't, it's hard for me to read it here.
Okay, because you're working on your phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend, China, has attacked the border of India with militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field. Yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in fear of consciousness. And every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue, but due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there is propaganda of people of the famous Supreme Court is a great need for Mr. Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as to bring about the desired peace. Can you page of what's next?
Yeah. Can you hear him?
You're breaking up. Devananda, you're breaking up, going in and out.
Yeah.
I'll just let Dave finish this.
So we hit the sentence because
Okay.
I wasn't following the
Yeah,
end.
go ahead with because India.
Okay. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart. and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature, the God consciousness of the people in general, and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our okay, my internet kind of went out. Okay, we're our reviving God consciousness of the people in general. Okay, are presenting this matter in adequate language.
Okay, he's gone. I'll finish the rest of it. Oh, there he is again. Go ahead.
Are you there?
Yeah, you crashed for a minute there. Go ahead, keep on reading.
My connection totally went out. I mean, like I said, I'm on my phone and it's bad connection. I gotta find out where we are again. Jeez.
Okay, you probably look at the middle of the page. We are sure.
Go ahead.
I'll just read the rest of it. But we are sure that with all our faults.
Please. I apologize.
No problem. We're sure with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty Lord. When there is a fire in the house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors who may be foreigners, and yet, without knowing the language of the victims of the fire, express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we're concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. That is the rule in this age of Kali or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. But there are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature, yet it is in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. The people in general want to read it. That is a natural instinct. But because their minds are polluted by such, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but it will also supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy, but we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures, which are catering poison to society, will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults. For it is recommended by Narada, Sri Narada, who has kindly appeared in this chapter. So I've never heard that, Devananda, do you know this? That sugar is the cure for jaundice? I've never heard that.
I've heard it repeated many times.
Yeah, I've never heard of like medical, in the modern age.
Mhm.
It's
You know,
like,
in regards to this topic, I heard something on NPR, I don't know, a few months ago, and I thought it was really interesting. I don't remember too many details of it, but it was in regards to um, many schools in America. I don't know what the percentage is, um, that are showing a lot of improvement with their students and their learning simply by implementing some form of meditation before class starts. And we're talking about young children here.
uh,
Of course, they're not advocating outright prayer. Nevertheless, it's a step forward. I think that asking children to sit quietly, and there's a moments of reflection, and considerable amount, and it's like a training, and they're showing that it's making a big difference in children. So you know here's an example of practicality and how at least training children to learn to control their senses and take time to reflect on the inner self, that we could possibly curb a lot of the attention that we witnessed in these schools. Of course, just what we can see just from recent events here, all the
yeah,
shootings
my two brothers live in Madison.
mhm,
You know, there was a shooting. Did you know that, Yoga Dave? Probably heard the news.
yeah.
But that's like yoga. Yoga is meant to control the mind. If
Mhm.
I'm not correct, Dave, I don't know if you're still on there. Looks like it's
I it's raining really hard. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. There we go. I couldn't hear you. It was raining. Now I can hear you. Now
Oh,
I got to
okay.
get back to the Zoom meeting. There we go. It was
But
just really raining hard. I Now I can
really,
hear.
okay, yeah. Did you get what
Yeah,
David Anda
I have
was
a
saying
tin roof.
about beginning in classes in America? They
No,
let
no, please. Yeah.
the students sit and meditate for a few minutes before the class. It just kind of calms their mind. And that's the purpose of yoga, is it not? I mean, to focus the mind on the soul and the heart. These sitting postures and breathing exercises simply a mechanical method to help control the mind, correct?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a positive thing, because if unless your mind is controlled, your mind is the worst enemy, Just like Raghunath Das Goswami, he wrote this book called Śāstra-cakṣusā, and in that book he says, "My dear mind, thou art not a Vaishnava." It's like, the mind is very difficult to control. It's always going this way and that way, and if especially in the morning, that's why I chose this period in the morning to have this program, of course, because that's what most temples do, but it's really more of a mode of goodness type of thing. Your mind is clear, and you can actually, when you wake up in the morning, you can start like reciting verses in your mind and chanting the mantra, and to hear it and get connected with Krishna the first thing, before it gets light out. And it's just getting light here in in Pittsburgh. Um, but you're an hour behind us, right? Or aren't you?
Yeah,
So
but
it's
it
like,
starts
it's
getting
like,
light around 6 and dark around 6.
oh,
So,
okay.
so it's
Yeah,
pretty
because you're
consistent.
near the equator.
Yeah, just a little
That's why it's
variation.
a little
So,
bit lighter out. We're,
yes.
we're up north, you know. I was watching this
Yeah.
one show on HBO. It's called Night Country. It was way, way up north. It's like dark for like 2 months of the year.
In the
I would not
winter,
up there.
in the winter in Canada, I would wake up and go to school, and when I would go to school at 8:30 in the morning, it was dark, and when I got out of school at 3:30, it was dark.
Yeah, they're thinking about like taking back or canceling the daylight savings time. You know, that was the only thing that George W. Bush actually got right, I think. He set it an hour. He kind of put it back, you know, so there'd be more daylight at the end of the day, um, instead of the morning. Because I think this whole thing was made up by the need for farmers to have it light in the morning so they can milk the cows or whatever. I don't know how it started, but it's pretty antiquated. But you know, the more closer you are to the equator, the closer you are, the more light it is uh, in the morning. It's pretty dark here now. Of course, it's cloudy, but so any other comments or anything on this? Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, like there's the slightest provocation. There's no reason for any of this, like China and India. Prabhupada was talking about, you know, China and India is has land that's on the border, and it's really not really even fit for any kind of farming or anything, but there's no cause, so there's no cause for fighting over it because it's not really a resource, you know. But because of the age of coral, they fight. I saw
Mhm.
this one GIF of these two dogs. There are two dogs uh, behind a fence, and when the fence closes, the dogs start barking at each other, and when the fence opens, then they stop. And the when the fence closes again, then they start barking at each other again. That's just like social media, you know. You know, they can't see each other, and or maybe being in a car or something, you have all these road rage incidents, you know, everybody's in their little box and they don't see each other. But, you know, it's a similar thing, you know, you don't really, uh, unless you have human contact, it seems like there's always fighting too, you know. And if you think that this is my nation, this is my country, and you start separating people on the basis of don't cross over this line, you know, if that's our land, it's not your land, then just based on that bodily conception of life, then there's fighting over that. It's like, you know, like dogs and cats that do that too. They'll mark their grounds. They'll urinate on a certain section of the and that'll be their property, you know. So what's the difference between a man and a dog as far as these boundaries? And Prabhupada said, you know, when you'd cross over a border or go into another country, you know, the customs agent would say, bark, 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 ruff, ruff, ruff. What are you doing here? What's your business? You know, and Prabhupada's a perfect gentleman, but still they're barking at him, you know. So, you know, it's just a dog mentality. So, but you know, I gotta everybody is saying that like there's a clock. There's like the end of the world clock. You know, devotee doesn't care, you know, what the end of the world is, you know, 'cause what can happen, you know, we're not the body, you know, so it doesn't really matter if it's the end of the world. But Prabhupada asked, somebody asked Prabhupada, what about when the bombs start falling, Prabhupada? What do we do? And he said in a real low voice, he said, Chant Hare Krishna. So, you know, uh, these are temporary things, and there might be a lot of suffering in the world, and we have to pay attention to our brothers and sisters around the world and do what we can. But the main thing is this message, the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the main point that Prabhupada is making. Even if you're not a pure devotee, even if you don't present it right, exactly correct, if you're trying to simply uh, popularize this chanting and this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, then um, it will do good to people because they'll be attracted. It's so much better than all this garbage that people are reading, My wife, I was attracted to my wife because, we went on this Match.com date, and so she would like to read, and I like to read too. And she was a good cook. She loved to cook, and so I like to eat, So it was like a match made in heaven. So as you can tell from my portly proportions, she feeds me well. So it's like everybody, but she reads all this garbage pretty much. It's all these romance novels and not really romance. She reads mostly legal novels and stuff like that, but she loves to read. She's always reading, but which is good, but it's just garbage. The Bhagavatam, though, that's a different kind of literature. It's they compare it to like the taste of it is like the taste between the kind of birds that are attracted to garbage, which is crows, and the type of birds that live in clear ponds, like a swan. They like to stick their heads in the water and tangle up into the lotus, uh, you know, the lotus stalks, and they love the clear, crystal clear waters. And so the crows don't hang out with the swans, but it's actually so birds of a feather flock together. So if we just continue hearing this literature, it can actually radically change the atmosphere and turn the whole world into Vaikuntha. And so we just have to figure out a way to inject this consciousness of this literature and this message and help people to understand how to follow it. It's just a matter of surrender. That's the bottom line of Bhagavad Gita is just surrender to the message as it's coming off the page and not put any interpretation on it or anything. Just accept it as it is and just, you know, absorb it. And they'll purify your heart to the point where you're attracted. When you hear the message of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, you develop an attraction to that message. That's the only thing that's worth anything in this material world. Everything else it says is so krama eva hi kevalam. Right? What is that verse, Devananda?
Hmm,
Uh,
I'm not sure.
no, the krama eva hi kevalam. Everything else is a useless waste of time unless you're attracted to the message of that occupational duty leads you to be attracted to the message of Krishna. It's a waste of time. So anything that leads us toward that attraction, like you say, maybe sitting down and kind of stilling the mind before class, that'll help you concentrate your mind so that you can focus it and before we begin our daily duties. That's part of our tradition as well. But, it works for children and it could work for the whole world too, especially if you're starting to, you know, read this literature because this is a different kind of message. It's not like ordinary, uh, material vibration. I mean, it's nice that the children are behaving a little bit better and they're not so like hyper by this, but unless you have a transcendental message, it doesn't do any good because they're just going to they might act up a little less during the day if they start their day like that because their minds are a little bit more controlled and they're a little bit less wild. But unless you actually, there's no real solution to any material problem unless one's connected and attracted to the message of Krishna. Is it
Well, the
not?
word itself, the word itself implies that the nature of this revolution is transcendental. So it it addresses what is essential to all living beings is that we wake up from the illusion and wake up to the reality. So no matter how much consumption related to the body or the mind, it will never satisfy. As a matter of fact, not only does it satisfy, but it just perpetuates the disease. We see that people consume more and more garbage, more food, and so on, and they just get further entrenched in their diseases. And the same thing with mental speculation, uh, leading some people to even commit suicide. We got all these different philosophies out there that people ultimately become so dissatisfied with their lives, both physically and psychologically, they just can't continue living. Whereas this transcendental sound vibration immediately touches the soul and awakens the soul and brings one to reality and to see everything else in its proper perspective. So that is the power of hearing this transcendental sound vibration. And we shouldn't underestimate the power of it. And even if one doesn't have the ability so much to go out and interact with people, um, Krishna is within the heart, and Krishna sees the endeavors of his devotees and will reciprocate in trying to, in making the atmosphere a better atmosphere by which people can learn to cooperate better. So there's no question of defeat when one engages in the practice of bhakti yoga. No question of defeat.
Yeah, I mean, when you're surrendered to the message, then everybody's pleased with you, and there's less a conflict. Because I think Emerson said that too. When two souls that are actually like-minded, when they interact, it's like mixing of air. There's
Mm-hmm.
no conflict there. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
surrendered to Krishna, it's actually everyone is pleased because you're in your constitutional position, and people just like to be with you, and they like to interact with you because it's natural. It's a natural
Mm-hmm.
attraction. And only devotees can actually help other people become attracted to Krishna. If we ourselves are attracted to Krishna, if Krishna gives us his mercy, we have to act in such a way that Krishna gives us his mercy first. It's not that we try to see Krishna, but we have to act in such a way that Krishna wants to see us. And that is the method of attracting others too, because if Krishna is attracted, where there are two or more of them gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them, Krishna says. In the Bible, that's what it says. And that's like the name is very powerful too. So kirtan, I was just reading uh the uh steady, Shalagram.
Mm-hmm.
She actually sent me a list of points that Bhaktisiddhanta made, some really nectar drops. Let me
Mm-hmm.
share those with you. Did you see that from her? Did she send that to you as well?
Um,
From
I got a link. I thought it was from Malati, but anyway, maybe Steady sent it to Malati.
yeah, this is I don't know if you can see this, but says some
I have it.
priceless pearls of instruction by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati for our deep consideration and practical guidance in our progressive spiritual life.
Yeah, I have them on WhatsApp.
Yeah, on WhatsApp it was. And that's what I was just talking about. The first point is like we are put to test and trial in this world. Only those who attend the kirtan of the devotees can succeed.
Mm.
So that is the only way we can actually become successful, is if we participate in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. That this is going to last for another 10,000 years. At least that's what they say. And, then it's just going to get worse. It's going to go all downhill from there. But it says if you don't participate in the kirtan of devotees, then you're going to have to wait millions of kalpas. You know how long a million of kalpa is?
Kalpa is a day of Brahma, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a day of Brahma is 4.3 billion years. So millions of kalpas, that's like trillions and trillions of years. So if you don't take